What is going on, Movie Meals? Movie Meals, go check out the podcast. Thank you, Movie Meal patrons, Kimberly and Karen. We're getting right into it. Go get some merch. Happy Christmas. Don't forget that we have an end of the year best movies coming, baby, and a most anticipated for next, which Kai always makes me do, which I never prep for. And let's go. Okay, we're here to talk about Avatar, though. This will be a non-spoiler review. We don't need to get into spoils. It's
No.
yeah. And let's see if fans attack me for my trailer thoughts. I got yelled at. Let's see if I'm attacked in this one. All right. So Kyle, we'll start with you. What were your positives of the film?
My positives were that I can't believe I saw Avatar 2, that I actually got to finally watch Avatar 2. You know, this movie that um has been talked about for so many years. Is Avatar relevant anymore? Is it going to be, a box office success? Is this movie even going to happen? We actually finally got to go back to the theater and watch Avatar. The story revolving around Jake Sully, and now he has a family, and they have to run away from humans who are trying to kill Jake Sully for what he did previously in the movie, and now they're living on an island with a water tribe, and they are just learning the way of water, as the title suggests. And I did like that aspect of the movie where it revolves not around Jake Sully necessarily, it more revolves around his family and particularly his children. And I think while it wasn't the strongest script, I would say, it at least was more emotionally it was able to
Impactful?
connect to you. Yes, thank you. It was able to connect more emotionally than say the last movie uh did, and it was because of that family level. And I really liked that it focused on the kids. It focused on them kind of going through having to be taught and learn new things about ways of life, similarly to what happened with Jake Sully and his arc in the last movie. But it was still able to do different things and not follow the same um types of arcs necessarily. Like they had their own journeys on a personal level that they had to go through. Not necessarily like a very deep arcs necessarily, but it's still enough on the surface level to where I felt like general audiences, or at least the audience that I was around, they were able to really get into it because all the way through you could just tell that everyone was, really rooting for the characters to survive. And when it comes to James Cameron and Avatar, obviously, the special effects, the technology that is used, it's very important and crucial to making this movie work. And I would say that it does. I would say that it still was a very beautiful looking movie with all the special effects that he does. I think his inclusion of how he incorporated water, whether it was realistic or used with CGI and other technologies, that it just made it a really pretty looking movie, and also made it like a really cool looking movie, and still has enough cool designs when it comes to the creatures and the locations to where it doesn't feel like a complete rehash necessarily. So I was really appreciative of the hard work that was able to be done here and was able to be pulled off to make this a real theatrical experience, kind of like what the first one was previously. What about you?
I liked the movie.
Hmm.
I thought there were times that it was just insanely beautiful. I mean, I thought I was
Yeah.
on Pandora at times, and I think Jim getting to make his passion project is really cool. I enjoyed going back to the world of Pandora. Um, the theater experience was very good. Wasn't incredible like say Spider-Man No Way Home kind of was, or It is one of my favorite theater going experiences, or any of the Avengers or Star Wars movies, but it was still pretty enjoyable. It was a pretty packed house, not completely sold out, but pretty packed. And um people were just enjoying being there, and it was just cool kind of getting back into the world. It's a world that I do enjoy overall, and I had a good time with it. I think some of the focus on kind of the more family aspect was really good. I liked a lot of some of the new creatures and
Hmm.
animals, and the designs of some of the water navi, or whatever they called them, was was really cool. I really liked the kind of differences in the tribes. And none of this is spoilers because it's all been in the trailers, but I
Hmm.
think they did a he did a really good job in the designing of that. But what are your negatives?
Uh, d- Going
Hmm.
back to the script, I think it's about on par with how he wrote the last Avatar movie. Again, I like the parts in terms of focusing on the kids and the story, or not the story, but the emotional journeys that they go through. But again, not the deepest of movies, which is okay. But just the types of things that we've seen before, to where it's like a bit too much of heavy dialogue, a bit too much of some of the dialogue that's a bit cringy. I'm sure that there's a few lines that people could take out, be like, yeah, that's probably not great. That probably wasn't delivered very well either. But um, again, it's similar to the first Avatar movie, to where it doesn't take away from it, but you can still notice it and kind of laugh to yourself at the same time. That's what happened for me anyway. And while I did think, when it came to the technology and how it made, just beautiful looking movie all the way from start to finish, I thought when it came to using high frame rate in this movie, especially with the action sequences, it doesn't work as well as you think it does. Like, I think the action overall still was very cool and very fun to watch, but when it was using the high frame rate and it was just, feeling like you were pressing fast forward through an action sequence, I just felt like it took me out in a way that I didn't want to have happened. I want to really experience, like, the actual speed of everything that was kind of going on, rather than it just being really fast. And while I think it does work in some of the underwater sequences, because I guess maybe like the motion of going through water is different than compared to if you were flying or if you were on land on like hand to hand combat sequences. I think just underwater stuff was fine for that, but not necessarily for um, all the other types of action sequences that were happening throughout the movie. And also, I kind of noticed that there's some plot points that keep happening like 4 or 5 times, which, for a 3-hour long movie, it kind of just gets repetitive after a while. And while it does help like build tension, it also kind of takes away, at least for me, to where I'm going, look, I've seen this same thing happen repeatedly in this movie. Can we please just get to the finish point and not have the same thing happen over and over again? So that probably goes into like the script as well, I suppose. But those are my two probably takeaways from that in terms on the negative side. But for all the hard work that Cameron put into these movies, and it still ended up being a good, or not a good, a great theatrical experience, and one that I'm glad many other people around me enjoyed. I can't complain too much. I had a good time with this.
Yeah, I liked the movie too. I actually think I liked it more than the first Avatar.
Mm,
I do think in terms of the tech, I think when the first one came out, it really was ahead of its time.
yeah,
I do not think this movie is ahead of its time in terms of technical advances. I think
sure.
some of the stuff we've seen on Mandalorian, I think some of the stuff we have seen in Endgame and Infinity War is pretty similar. I mean, they convinced me that I was on an alien planet called Titan in Infinity War. So I think there are times that this is literally one of, if not the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. That is true. I do not think the tech is so insane, though, that it it didn't fully feel like this was out of the realm of possibility for other filmmakers. When the first Avatar came out, it felt like it was. Now, everything in this movie is CGI. So some
Mm,
shots looked incredible. Some looked like a great video game, but I didn't pay for a video game. I paid for a movie that should make me feel like I'm not at a video game. It does take me out. There are times it looks like a great video game, but it's painfully obvious that that's what it looks like. And there are times it looks bad, including, and I am like 98% positive on this, I'm pretty sure there's one shot where they didn't finish animating Jake Sully's hands, and he had human hands, like normal pale white hands, when he was doing something, but it was so minuscule that I don't think they caught it themselves because I couldn't believe I caught it. But I'm 98% sure that they just forgot to finish animating his hands. So,
whoops.
in one shot. And I do think some of the scenes were just incredible. The underwater stuff looked awesome. I will say I didn't think it looked incredibly better than like Black Panther or Aquaman, but I did
Oh,
think at
really?
times it did. I think at times it looked insanely beautiful because it
Hmm.
was very shallow, so the light can get in there and you can have really great lighting. Those other movies play off of being in the deep ocean, so they don't light big because light can't get that far. They were trying to be a little bit more realistic. They're not in very shallow waters or in very deep waters most of the time, so they don't get super dark. And when they do get deeper, they do get dark, and it made it look really beautiful. There are some shots that I really loved, especially towards the climax. Um, in terms of the story, I do think, and I got yelled at in the comments on the trailer for this. Look, yes, every movie when you boil it down repeats. I agree to that. Force Awakens and A New Hope are pretty much beat by beat the same film. But what The Force Awakens I think does so well is it feels refreshing. It feels like, even though it is beat by beat, that I am enjoying the ride because I feel like I am in a different, refreshed part of Star Wars. At times, Avatar does that. Avatar Way of the Water does that. It's the same story with a very refreshing beat, like a
Mhm.
refreshing nuance to it. And there are at times it does not feel refreshing, where I think Star Wars felt refreshing from start to finish. I do not think this felt refreshing from start to finish, and especially with the antagonist. I thought the antagonist was a bad decision and a poor call by James Cameron. I think they could have just plucked anybody in there and it would have made it better. And I think it made it worse with the direction they chose to go. Um, there are some storylines and plot lines that just didn't work. I agree they could be cut out. That just felt repetitive. There are some plot holes that did bother me towards the end of kind of in the big battle without giving anything away. But like when we get to the climax of the film, it does focus a little bit, I think, a little too much on the family, and it didn't make sense for me. So um there's a few things I just didn't love. I am actually pretty pumped for a third and a fourth Avatar just because I want to see these insane movies that the actors and director keeps talking about. Even Zoe Saldana's like, if you think 1 and 2 and 3 are great, just wait till we keep going. Like, I want to see that because I just want to see if that's true. I just
Yeah.
want to know if it's true. Show me a 9-hour cut with full CGI, Jim. Um, uh, but yeah, I liked the movie. I did. I don't know if I will go see it again. If I get an opportunity, I might. But I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was fun going back to Pandora, and I really like the actor who plays Jake a lot. I think he was just in a show that I watched on Hulu called Under the Banner of Heaven, and he was phenomenal in it. It has Andrew Garfield in it. It was a great show, and he was great in it. Sam Worthington, that's who it is, and
Yeah.
he does a great job, and I'm glad he's back in this movie and getting this chance again to be kind of a centerpiece actor again. So yeah, any other thoughts?
No, I just encourage people to give this one a go. I think it's going to be a great experience. It will remind you, how refreshing and new and different the theatrical experience was with the first one, and you might be surprised by the movie in the second one.
All right, guys, if you've seen the movie, comment below, let us know, what did you think. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, and as always, thanks for watching, Mom.
See you guys.